Welcome to Blending the Family, the podcast. Topics can range from what is good wine on a first date, parenting tips, and not being afraid to ask for help. Warning, you're about to listen to a conversation, not an interview. Here's your host, who was told by a guest at one time that he was a podcast influencer. How about them apples? Well, you know the truth about that statement. Tommy Maloney.
Welcome to another edition of the podcast known as Blending the Family. Whoa, what's going on? Let me have a sip of coffee here. Breakfast blend. Welcome to another edition of the podcast known as Blending the Family. I am your host, Tommy Maloney. Dramatic pause right there. You doing okay? You having a good day? Or maybe a good jog? Maybe you're walking the dog, as I love to say over and over again because I am a dog person. Hashtag dogs are better than cats. They really are. If you follow me on the Instagram, you might have seen my post recently of a dog named Grover I met at the Vancouver airport. Oh my gosh, such a beautiful dog and kind and friendly, and just almost started weeping because still missing our boy Duke. Oh, it's really weird when this is the first time I've really experienced a passing of a pet, and it's rough. It is rough. I know my mom's done this a few times. It's really funny. I never thought my mom would be a dog lover, but I mean, we had a dog growing up, but she consistently gets a new dog. One passed away, she has to fill that void, fill that gap. Another sip of coffee. Anyway, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're enjoying whatever time you're listening to this podcast. It could be in the morning. It could be in the evening. You could be driving cross country. How cool is that? I'm not a backseat driver, so you don't have to worry about that. Oh, you just missed your turn. Just kidding. On this episode, I was actually a guest, and we are playing the podcast of my dear brother of another mother, Mr. Johnny Nomad. Yes, the Johnny Nomad. He's been on this podcast. I've been on his other podcast. So I'm excited to share this episode with you. I think we went a long time. So as I'm sitting here thinking about recording this, I think I'm going to divide this into 2 episodes. Yeah. I'm going to divide this into 2 episodes. So, here we go. Episode 1 with Johnny Nomad Presents, and you can find him on the Instagram at Johnny Nomad Presents. Check him out. Check out his podcast. Check out his YouTube channel. He's all over the place in a good way. He puts out a lot of good content. So, we obviously, like I just said, we talked for close to just over 2 hours. Cover family stuff. We cover what drives us to keep producing in each of our case podcasts, because we know that even though we're not getting paid to do these, and I know everybody uses this word, but I'm going to use it as well. The hustle. Can't knock the hustle. And eventually it will pay off, and it just takes time. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Please subscribe not only to Blending the Family podcast, wherever you get podcasts sold, wherever you listen to podcasts. Oh gosh. This is my second cup of coffee. But please subscribe to Johnny's as well. Again, check him out. You'll see the information in the show notes. Here we go. Episode 1, my interview as a guest on the Johnny Nomad Presents podcast. You this is proof. This is proof what our good friend Terry Crews says, because I know Johnny's success is going to be my success. My success is going to be Johnny's success. So here we go. As Terry Crews would say it with me, loud and proud, your success is my success.
But let's let people know this is Mr. Tommy Maloney.
Oh, you recording? Are you recording?
Absolutely. So how's your Sunday been?
Busy, because I'm trying to follow, and I'm in all seriousness, I'm trying to follow in your footsteps. I'm working on, or I use Canva. I know you're a Photoshop guy, but I don't.
No, Canva as well. I use Canva for all the thumbnails that I create for YouTube.
So I'm playing around with Canva. I actually recorded a podcast this morning.
Good for you.
I mowed the yard front and back, and rumors are it's here in northern Colorado it's supposed to snow tomorrow. So,
are you serious?
Yeah.
It's 80 degrees in Atlanta.
It's 67 here.
Jesus.
Yeah.
When does it get warm?
It's always warm. The biggest misconception people have with Colorado is it's always snowing, it's always cold. The mountains get snow. Down in the lower valley area, it's beautiful weather. It really is.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I would be there soon. So
okay.
I would definitely be there soon. I have to introduce you because you have so much stuff going on.
Not as much as you.
No, stop it. No, not at all. You have your podcast, which is Blending the Family podcast.
Actually, we're Blending the Family and launching another podcast. The first new episode will come out next Friday. I'm going to bore your listeners real quick. So the guy, I've known John, not you, but another John, for 20 plus years. And on my podcast, he's my voice guy. And he and I worked in radio together. He was the morning guy. I was his producer.
Right.
And last week, he calls me up and says, dude, we got to put a podcast together. Because part of what happened when he and I were working together, we were at a radio station outside of Nashville, Tennessee. And he took a job in Augusta, Georgia, which you might be familiar with.
Yeah, that's where we have the Masters at, of course.
There you go. And unfortunately, the radio station only brought him. They weren't going to bring the two of us. And right after that is when the radio station I was still at fired me. And I think about a month later, he got fired. So one of the things we've talked about for years is the coulda, shoulda, woulda, where we really had a great morning show, and we were developing between his writing, my ability to edit digitally. I mean, we were on the cusp of we could have been big. And so we're at the point 20 plus years later going, let's try and not necessarily recreate, but let's create what we wanted to create. So John and I recorded the first episode today. We're going to still use Blending the Family to launch it, do some sample episodes, and then we'll start putting it on another platform or what have you. But excited about that. I mean, just like you, I love the world of podcasting. I love it because we can do it anywhere. It's just so much fun.
It's exciting, especially this day and age of technology. It makes it so much easier. You don't need much actually anymore.
No.
Where back in the day, to your point, you needed a whole entire radio studio.
Yeah.
That's huge. And I don't have a mixing board. I just have my computer with a camera, a decent mic, and that's really it. And some software. right? And we use Skype. So, and that's for, so it's amazing. And podcast has started, it started early 2000s, and some people are still doing it from back then, and it kind of dwindled down a little bit. It kind of like have a backseat to other media, and then it had this kind of renaissance and really started popping again, and everyone pretty much almost has a podcast nowadays. Some are good,
but
some are better.
the problem is that they're not consistent enough.
Correct.
And
same with YouTube. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I was at my wife and I were at a going away party last night, and some of the people there knew I have a podcast, and they're like, "Hey, are you still doing that thing?" I'm like, "Yeah, I haven't. I couldn't tell you the last time I missed a week. I mean, I missed a scheduling day this past week because my charger broke, and
Right.
so I had to order a new charger. But that's the only time in a year, 2 years I've missed my own personal deadline of launching a new episode on a Friday. And that's the thing, is that you have to be consistent, no matter if it's podcasting, if it's writing a blog, if it's as you and your wife Lovely do the YouTube. You have to be consistent. And I think a lot of people, like you were mentioning, that they're not all good because they're not honing their craft. They're not staying consistent to be able to have guests on their show and asking good questions. They just don't. Again, they're just not consistent enough, and that's why they become crappy podcast or YouTube channels.
Well, I think you hit a lot of stuff there. I think the biggest thing that people tend to do is they tend to be busy, but not really focus on their goals. And sometimes people like to just talk about them being busy as if that's something great and grand, and they're not really accomplishing it, and there's no results from just being busy. And I had to learn that myself, because I'm like, okay, well, if I have this podcast and I stay consistent with it, it's just not a hobby anymore. It's becoming an actual job, my career, right? On top of me writing, and I released 2 books last year, which you're happy, because it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have probably released those 2 books last year. And I'm working on my 3rd book this year, my urban love story, called Brooklyn Love. Shameless plug. But again, I'm not writing just to be busy. I've been working on that particular book, Brooklyn Love, for the past 8 years, because I didn't feel my writing was strong enough. And once I decided to tell myself, fuck it, you're going to put it out there regardless of who, fuck critics. You're going to find your audience. They're either going to love it or hate it. Either way, you can say you're a published author, because I don't want to die saying shoulda, coulda, woulda, like you said with the radio show. But you just can't be just to be busy, and you have to do things the right way. It is a trial and error. It is tough, because we're in a day and age of followers, and people care so much about that number and how many likes you get. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. No doubt I want to get an active audience. I don't need 100,000 people to follow me to be successful, but I really do want an active audience that's going to be engaging with me at the same time and giving me feedback about the podcast and listening. And sometimes the podcast that I do, I may think one would be a great podcast, and I look at the data, I'm like, oh wow, why is it sucking so much? What did I do wrong? And I'm looking at, did I present it the right way? But I think at the same time, like what you're doing, you've been on TED Talk, you're a published author, you have your podcast, you're creating a new one. You have so many hats you wear, outside the one you're wearing now, right?
Go Cubs.
Go Cubs. How do you, and you also have a day job. So how do you manage your time? What does that look like for you? Plus the family, right? So how do you manage all of that together?
Oh, great question. So, well, number one, I want to take a step back on something you were talking about, and I'm very similar with you, Johnny. I do get excited, you use Libsyn, right?
No, I use Anchor.
Oh, that's right. You use Anchor. I use Libsyn, and I will, look at my numbers from time to time, but I look at the numbers as far as what episodes did really well. Okay, correct. So let me capitalize on that. And so let me was it a guest that worked really well? If so, let me find similar guests. If it's something where it was just me, what was the topic? And let me look at that and dive into that. Here's where I get really mad at, and I'm sure you've run into this as well, is either on LinkedIn or on Instagram or Twitter or even email, you'll get people reaching out to you going, "Oh, Johnny Nomad, I want to be on your podcast
Yes.
because I'm the greatest slice of cheese ever and all this. And by the way, tell me your numbers. What's your demographics? How many downloads a month do you get?" And I told one guest, and I thought she would have been a fantastic guest. However, she was more concerned about the numbers. And I said, "I don't play that game. If you're going to come on to my podcast, it's because I think you have value for the audience. And I want you to bring your knowledge to share with the audience." And so, as far as time management, that's where I put that as a priority when it comes to the podcast and guests. So if I do get emails, and as a matter of fact, I got one today from somebody, I said, "Great, send me your information. Let's see if we can work something out." So that helps immensely as far as who comes on my podcast and who doesn't. So to take your question about, so I travel 100% of the time. So tomorrow morning, get up at about 3:30. My wife will take me an hour north. I hop on a bus. Bus takes me to the airport, and I am going to Kansas tomorrow. So it's going to be a long day, but I know that there are things that I have to accomplish. So right now, when we first got started on your episode here, I'm working on a couple of things more visual because I love all the stuff you put on Instagram.
Thank you.
I'm like, I need to do that more. And again, it goes back to being consistent. So I want to put out more consistent, but thoughtful content, for example, on Instagram and Twitter, because I don't want to have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning unless I'm getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm going to a speaking event that I'm either the keynote or I'm doing some type of panel, but I'm doing it for my family, so to speak. So I know tomorrow when I get to the hotel, when I finally check in the hotel, I'm working on 3 new blog pieces I want to get working on or continually working on, get those posted. Start post-production of the podcast we did today, so it's out on Friday. So I know in the back of my mind, Johnny, what I need to accomplish each and every day. And a good friend of mine, Chris Hardy, taught me HVAs, high value accomplishments. So each day you have 3 HVAs, okay? The problem when people have these to-do lists, they become to-do not lists.
Yes.
Because they get overwhelmed. But if you can come up with 3 goals for the day, it helps you stay focused and it helps you not become overwhelmed. So as long as I can come up with 3 things that will help me make that day a winning day, it's a good thing. Will I always get to those 3 things? No. But knowing ahead of time that what I want to accomplish, Dr. Wayne Dyer always talked about think from the end. So again, by Thursday night, my podcast has to be edited, done, and so it's loaded or uploaded that night, so it's live-ish on Friday. So that's kind of how I stay in perspective as far as what I need to accomplish during the day and then during the week.
What tools do you use to keep yourself organized?
A couple of things. I'll show you right here. Notebook. I still pen and paper, and then the phone as well. So I do double duty to make sure, especially when, I mean, in the same world with you, is when you're booking guests, you want to make sure that you remember, hey, I'm speaking to so and so at this time, this date. The notebook for me is about throughout the day. If I come up with questions, the phone is more for a scheduling tool.
Right.
So that's what I like to use.
No, I do the same. I still use notebook and paper. I use my calendar a lot on my phone, and you have to. I think the days, when I was younger, I would say, "Oh, I have it up here." I just keep it up here. But up here, you can't really check shit off, right? And you want to visually see your accomplishments. So what I'm doing now, I'm actually doing a journal daily, and I have it on Evernote, where I'm stating was I successful or not?
Mm-hmm.
Did I do nothing today toward any of my projects that I have multiple projects going on? Or did I kill it today? And what I do is I'll take inventory at the end of the month and say, hey, man, you did 28 days. You were rocking and rolling. Or, hey, you did 28 days. You didn't do fucking shit.
Oh, right.
Holy shit. And now I can't complain because I'm holding myself accountable. I can't complain, wow, why I haven't seen the results that I want. Because if I go back and see 28 days of me doing jack shit, it's my fucking fault.
Right. And you bring up a great point. I'm sorry, I'm looking around my office. I must have left out in the living room, but I have another. It's from Darren Hardy, who used to be the publisher of Success Magazine, and he has a program called now I'm blanking. Something about building your best year ever. And a lot of things you were just talking about is encompassed in this journal. So each and every day you set goals,
Yes.
and you keep track of those goals throughout the week. So,
Right.
for example, so I've been off this week because Tuesday of this week I had an endoscopy, which means they put a camera down my throat, and then I had a colonoscopy. We'll leave it there.
They put a camera at the
Yes.
other end.
Yes. So I had that done on Tuesday, and then, as I was mentioning, Thursday I had eye surgery again. And so there are things that, throughout the day I have to remember to do. Well, because I've had these procedures this week, my wife and I had a come to Jesus meeting for Tommy, and that was, I really need to work better, or as the kids would say, more better on my health.
Right.
And so that, especially as somebody who's a road warrior, travels 100% of the time,
Yeah.
it can be tough. And unfortunately, I'm my own accountability partner. And there are times where at 5 a.m. and I'm on the East Coast and my body says, no, it's tough. It's really tough. Something else that came to mind about scheduling, one of my favorite apps is Hootsuite. And I love Hootsuite because I can schedule Instagram and Twitter off of Hootsuite. And I think I can schedule LinkedIn. I prefer doing LinkedIn live stuff. So Hootsuite is also one of my favorite scheduling tools.
No, that's awesome. And it's key. So to your point, like, you get caught up in everything that you're doing and you do forget to take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole thing of you trying to do so many things is to have fun, enjoy yourself, enjoy the work that you're doing, follow your passion. But if you're not living long enough, that's going to dwindle kind of quickly, right?
Oh, right.
And I'm in the same position as well. My day job has turned to a night job. Now I'm working nights. And it has really screwed up my schedule. To where now I'm sleeping during the day, and sometimes I'm not getting complete sleep. I'm only getting maybe 3-4 hours of sleep. The sun is beaming in through the window, maybe the third day I'm so exhausted that I just kind of crash. Um, but it is difficult. But this is where this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where you have to your point, take true account of yourself, all your actions, and call yourself out, and say, Johnny or Tommy, hey, you know what? You're not doing the best that you can really be doing. Like, I'm not operating at 100% right now. I know I'm not. I'm trying to get to 100% of me really operating at my finest peak. And I know that I haven't seen it yet. I've seen kind of blips of it where I can get everything in a row to where, hey, yeah, I am working out. I am eating right. The family's being taken care of. The life is being tickled. All of the above, just checking things off and still have time for myself as well. That is key. Because as we give more of ourselves, because now we give ourselves to our audience, right? And the audience is also very demanding. They want that content. And once you get them kind of spoiled with that weekly content, it's work. It really is. Now you have to put the work in, and like you said earlier, now you have to work on post production. Mm-hmm. That's time. Now you have to re-listen or re-watch what you just recorded, and that can be hours again of taking up your time. And what I do now is I have a bank of interviews that I have. So I got 3 more interviews to put out before I get to yours. You're like the 4th one, so I'm a month out. And that gives me that gives me some time to work on the next one properly. I don't feel rushed, right? I'm putting out better graphics for the content. I'm able to communicate more with that person and cater to them for their podcast. If I'm just doing week to week, oh man, I'm gonna fail because I can't operate that way. Some people can probably operate that way.
That's how unfortunately I have to operate right now.
Right.
And that's only because my travel schedule. Because
exactly.
There are times, and quite honestly, Johnny, the reason why I have to do week to week is because I can't trust the Wi-Fi in hotels, and it could be a security thing, and it's also could be it's crap, and right. So you don't want to waste a guest's time and say, hey, let's schedule, let's do it X time on this date, and I'm in a hotel and the signal keeps dropping. That's not fair to them. That's not fair to the audience. So it's unfortunate where I'm at right now. I don't know if you've run into this. I've run into this a couple times where guests say, I don't do weekends. I can only do it during the week. And I'll have to say to them, okay, I'll have to put you on the back burner until I can, have, a few days during the week and we can schedule from there. Another thing, too, is you're talking about, because studies show people in your situation that do like overnight shifts, it really does mess up their circadian rhythm. Mm-hmm. But my advice to not just you, Johnny, but to others that are in a shit job where they are working those hours, just remember, it's not forever.
Exactly.
And I know in your situation, and all the time we've known each other, I know I believe so much in you and your message and your work ethic that one day, and it's going to be sooner than later, it's going to be that one podcast or that one book that you write or that one YouTube episode you put out and somebody says, I want to pay you to do this.
Right,
so
exactly.
And that's why I again truly mean this. I have to up my game because I know how hard you work. I know how driven you are. And I'm like, I want to, not only do I want to keep up with you, John, I want to pass you. And it's not a competition thing. It's what I have to do to motivate myself to help me get to where I want to be as well. And as I always kid on my podcast, I always end the show with, I always say, for my best friend, Terry Crews, who I've yet to meet, one day I'll meet him. But I saw an interview he did with Tim Ferriss, and Terry Crews was talking about, the competition when he was in the NFL and the competition as an actor. But he took realization one day and he says, their success is my success. And what does that mean? Well, if somebody else gets a role, that means there's a role out there for him. So I look at it that way too, is Johnny's success is going to be my success. my success is going to be Johnny's success. So I'm just so blessed every time, every morning, every afternoon, I see something that you've put out content wise, and I look and I go, motherfucker, I really have to figure out how to use Photoshop or Canva better to get my message out there. So as men, we got to stop being in competition. We have to start serving each other to help us get to where we want to be. And that's me on my soapbox.
No, I thank you so much. I really do appreciate that, and I still don't feel I put the work in, because my wife, lovely, always tells me, get the fuck away from the computer all the time,
Yeah.
and she has to drag me off. But um, our relationship started by helping each other out, and I think ever since then, ever since our friendship began, it's always been about trading information,
Mm-hmm.
leveling up each other, being that inspirational piece to one another. Because you've been plenty of times have texted me, or we had long conversations on the phone for hours and discussing the next move. What does something may look like? Don't worry about the now. Just continue going forward, no matter what issues have come to pass. And because of you, to be honest with you, is where I get my drive from. When you can play tennis with, you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna get better. You know, and it's a challenge. Like you said, it's not much a competition, but it's a challenge. So if Tommy, you ace the serve to me and I miss it, damn,
Mm-hmm.
I get you back. You know, and
Mm-hmm.
and that's what people need to understand. When you start building your network, that's when you really start building your net worth. Your network is everything. And when you have people you can really bounce things off of, and having think tanks with people, and strategizing and planning, and asking simple questions, not being afraid to say, hey, I'm either insecure about this, or I don't know. Can you help me out? A lot, especially for men. Men are really insecure about letting other men know that they don't know something, and we'll pretend like we do know it, right? And that's where, with our relationship, we've really dropped down the curtain and say, hey, we're not going to do that. We're going to just be upfront with one another. And every day I'm focused on working on Instagram. Every day I'm focused on the podcast. I do have writing time built in as well, and I still don't feel I'm 100%. I can just give more and more and more, on top of still be the professional I am at the nonprofit that I'm running, right? So, having that and chosen, which is a fantastic thing for me to run this nonprofit. But at the same time, it's like, hey, I do have passion I'm going after, and our friendship has really um, gotten so much more stronger. Um, so we can talk freely to one another at any given time, moment, and that's what people really need. Especially men. Men really need that as well, because we tend to just hide so much shit. And to your point, any information you text me, hey, what are you using to make your picture? I say, hey, this is the app. This is.
Right.
I'm not trying to hide it and say, no, it's all mine. Like with Daffy Duck when he finds out, mine, right? So no, it's like you have to share. The more you share, the more you're gonna get back. There's good karma, and the energy I produce is all about trying to help people out. That's why my podcast is called Johnny Nomad Presents. It's a podcast for the people. It's not my podcast.
Well, it's funny because I had to grab my phone because when we were recording this morning, and I knew I'd screw up the quote. So one of my favorite speakers was Jim Rohn, and a lot of people have heard this quote, and I want to give credit where credit is due. And Jim Rohn said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." So for your listeners to think about that. So if you spend your time with idiots, thugs, pieces of dirt, guess what? You're going to be part of that group. You spend your time with people that are have integrity, that strive, of being in service. You're going to be a part of that, and so that's why as I've gotten older, I want to surround myself with people like you, Johnny, with even people that I get to meet through my wife, through people I get to meet through church. because and not everybody that goes to church are nice people and all that. So you do have to have a little bit of radar on,
Sure.
but I still believe what Jim Rohn says. As long as you surround yourself with good people, you will become a good person. The flip side of that is another favorite quote of mine is from Pastor Joel Osteen, and he says, "If you're the smartest one in your group, you need a bigger group." And
Yes.
so I know I'm not the smartest person. Real quickly, my wife was having computer problems, and I could see it. I can feel that she was ready to lose it because of this week with my medical stuff, we've got more bills to add on, and now her computer's not working, and I can feel her wanting to lose. I said, "Sweetie, hop on my computer. Let me see what I can do," and I was able to. I don't know how I did it. I'm an idiot, but I was able to figure out whatever was causing her issue, fixed it, and I
Awesome.
said to her, I go, "I got lucky." She goes, "No, give yourself more credit."
Exactly.
And that's a guy thing. That's a man thing that we don't. We don't give ourselves enough credit. You know, I I again think that men, we are in too much goddamn competition with each other when we need to be working with each other, not against each other.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. I think that the vulnerability we have to employ is not taught, though, right? We're not taught to
You're
be
right. You're
vulnerable.
100% right.
And when we do this to employ that into our lives, you're gonna wind up winning. And then other people say, "Hey, how many times have you heard this, Tommy? I get shitted on a lot because I'm a nice guy," or "Hey, people just take advantage of me because I'm so nice." It's not because you're nice that people take advantage of you. They take advantage of you because you allow them to. I'm a
Exactly.
very, I'm a very nice person, but Tommy, I will tell you, fuck no, I'm not doing that shit for you. I'm not gonna give you $10,000, Tommy. I don't care how hard you ask me. I'll give it to you, Tommy, but but you know,
I'll give it back to you, Johnny, as well.
I know, and that's what people have to understand. It's not about I had to be this mean, stern person now because I'm getting taken advantage of. That's because of your own personality and own security and insecurity that you have is why you're being taken advantage of. And as men, as we become more vulnerable with ourselves and teach our sons how to be vulnerable as well, that's when we're actually gonna fucking win. That's when things would change and mindsets are gonna grow. And that's where we have to go and drive into that funnel of hey, let's be open. Let's be a sprouting flower. Let's understand more of what my wife is talking about because she's tapped into her emotions. But for 41 years, I have not been allowed to tap into mine. From a young boy, I've been told, "Hey, if I skin my knee, don't cry. Hey,
Yeah.
you being a girl, don't
Yeah.
man up." That becomes an issue where now I probably have PTSD, probably a small form of it, but I've suppressed so much of my life to be this hard persona. Am I really being myself? And that's what a lot of men have to realize. No doubt, yeah, go home and go to work, put home the bacon, but those days are over too. A lot of men are having insecurities with their wives making more money than they are now, and it's not a bad thing because you was making more money than her. One of you has to make more money. I'm okay with it. If Lovely makes more money than me, man, more power to you. Go make more money. I'll stay home and fucking cook.
Yeah. I
I'll,
would.
I'll run the household.
I'm with you too. I have zero problem if my wife, you know, right now we're pretty equal, and that's fine. If she made even more money, that's fine because it's all about our family. It's about supporting our family, and I don't give a fuck. what, what the more money, the better. But at the same time, it's the value of the money and what you can do with it. There was something you were talking about being vulnerable. There have been times where this past, I don't know why, but like these past 6 months, because I spend so much time in hotel rooms alone. There are times where I'm just sitting on the bed crying because I hate being on the road. I miss my family. But that's where I have to buck up and say it's only temporary. It's about, providing for our family, and it's not forever. And so I I'm hoping there's starting to become a shift with more of a men's movement, because I still feel that there are times where men are still stuck in the 50s, and that we need to have our own massive movement. Here's a prime example, and I know you do this so well with Instagram and hashtags. So if you use the hashtag moms, you'll have over 3 million hits. If you use the hashtag dads, it's about 1 million. So I understand the Me Too movement. I understand that there are some dumbass men out there. But at the same time, we, not just men, but we dads also need to step it up as well, and not do what you were just saying to our sons, why are you crying? I'll give you something to cry about. You know, I'm not saying we men need to be wussenized, but we need to be better. We need to be better men. We need to show our sons how to be better men, so there isn't a need for another Me Too movement, that we're creating better boys starting at the young age, and as they progress, we're with them step by step. I mean, one of the things I had years ago, and I still once in a while I have this conversation with my son, and I tell him, you will never hit a woman. I don't care if she hits you first. You'll never hit a woman. You will walk away. But at the same time, where are these dads? Where are these mentor of men helping out our young kids today?
They don't know how to. They don't know how. They don't know how to help themselves, and that's the
Good
problem.
point.
That's the biggest problem right there. Especially different cultures. I know being Hispanic, being Puerto Rican, going to therapy is frowned upon. You don't go to therapy. And a lot of cultures are that way as well. You're gonna go talk to a stranger about your problems. Just handle it. Just fix it. But it goes deeper than that. And we understand that a therapist is not there to give us advice. They're there to coach us so we can bring out our own answers out of ourselves. And once you learn that, going to therapy is a great freaking thing, right? So if a man does not know how to fish, he's not going to know how to eat. And that's what's the problem with fathers, sons. I cannot teach my son how to not to be a womanizer if I myself never knew what it was to not be a womanizer. My biological father, that's what he was. He cheated on my mother left and right. He saw nothing wrong with it. He thought it was a cool thing to do. And then I had to teach myself, you need to be faithful. And
Right.
he taught me a lot. He taught me everything I needed not to do. So I was able to have that lens and say, you know what? I'm going to be faithful. One woman, that's it. Not trying to, see the entire planet like he
Right.
was trying to do.
Be a player.
Yeah, be a Casanova, like they called him back in the days, right?
Right.
And so again, it comes down to breaking that chain. You and I are in that predicament of we experience that movement of feminism from the past to now we have the Me Too movement of saying, hey, yeah, do I have to look back and say, did I touch someone wrong? Did I engage with someone the wrong way? And how can I fix that? And now, how can I teach my son that going forward? Now, it's not even a question for him or a second thought. It's just a built-in behavior that he already knows. I can't do this shit. I haven't even a thought.
Right.
But you and I, It's a thought. It's almost like, oh, hold on, let me stop. How do I engage with this woman now?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then from there, what I do is I just ask, hey, you want to be hugged? Are you a hugger? Are you a handshaker? Do you not like to be touched at all? And that's the best thing you can do. Just ask. If you don't know, ask. If that person comes up to you and gives you a hug because they're a hugger, fantastic, cool. You'll get a hug from now on. Even with close friends, you have to reevaluate that and say, you know what, damn. Like I'm like, Tommy, you're hugging Lovely too damn much. Which hell are you going on?
Get off her leg.
Yeah. What are you doing?
Yeah.
But I think for us, it's going to be a thought process. I think for our sons going forward, it's not because we're teaching that because we're fortunate enough to be aware. We're fortunate enough to actually look at the world and say, you know what, and look at ourselves. Something wrong, and I'm either gonna add to it in a positive way, or I can add to it and stay myself. But then that's not actually growing myself. And everything you just said is about growth. It's about also showing your son how dad can be, and dad is still learning, and dad may not have all the fucking answers.
Oh God, it's funny you say that because I had this, for some reason, this horrible memory popped in my head a couple weeks ago. We were taking a family trip to New York, upstate New York.
You mean Canada? Yeah.
Close to it, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was sitting. We call my son and my bonus daughter the Wonder Twins because they look very similar, and they could be biological brother and sister. So on the flight out, I was sitting in between them, and my son wouldn't do something. I can't remember what it was. Something stupid, and I just lost my shit. And I'm just like, what kind of asshole was I back then? And I'm luckily as I've gotten older, I've gotten a little bit more mellower. So, for example, when Easter came around, I had picked up my son. I said, "Hey, did you bring dress clothes when we go to church?" He goes, "Oh, I forgot them." And I'm like, "But you knew we were going to church." He goes, "Yeah." I said, "All right." For some reason, I was like, "All right, we'll figure it out. Let's figure it out." There's no reason to go off on a 16-year-old kid. You know what? They're 16. They're teenagers. They're still going through the motions. And you know what, Johnny? We figured it out. It was all good. And so I think I'm really fortunate now that I'm starting to understand myself and that there's no reason to get angry. There's no reason to just become an asshole dad. It's about, okay, let's figure it out. What can we do to make this happen? Okay, we'll make it happen. And so part of me, I'm very blessed that my dad, even to this day, he's a hugger. He'll still give me a kiss. And I love that. I'm an affectionate guy. And the thing that drives me nuts now is that I can feel my son isn't because his mom isn't. His mom is very stoic and unfortunately. So I make him, when I pick him up and when I drop him off, he is getting bookended. He's getting a hug when I pick him up. He's getting a hug when I drop him off. And I know he doesn't like it, but so sad, too bad, because I have to let him know that even though we don't see much of each other, I love you and I'm going to hug you if you like it or not.
There's just some things that just have to be stood for, and I'm the same way with my children as well. I kiss them, I hug them frequently, and to get that from a man, it does something to you as a young man, and say, wow, like I can be affectionate, and a lot of men suffer from that, where they're not affectionate at all, and that's difficult because when you're trying to connect with your spouse, even with your children, you kind of missed the goal there a lot of times.
Do you think it's, and this is what I think, is that because I'll, like I was saying earlier, we went to a going away party and there are people, so my friend Scott and his wife are moving. So obviously, I mean, I'm hugging him when we got there. I hug him when we leave, and there were people there, guys that I hadn't seen for a while, and I hug them. You know, I think, and this again is the 1950 mentality with men is there's still too many men that are homophobic. Oh my God, you hug me? Oh my gosh, what are you, gay? No, it's just my way of letting you know I'm I'm a man. I love you. I'm not afraid to say it to you, but I'm going to hug you. And if you don't like it, that's cool. We can do the bro hug. We can handshake. We can do pound, knuckles, whatever. But I still feel that there's a certain percentage of men out there that have that homophobic attitude, and it just has. I shouldn't say has to, but it has to stop. We need to be more comforting these days, especially showing it around our kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. Everyone's on that no homo, right? So if I do something, oh, no homo, but why say that? What even preference that for? And to
Right.
your point, if you already have a relationship with another man, and to your point, we hug, we say, hey, I love you. Have plenty of my older friends that I grew up with out you in the call, hey, love you, bro. You're my brother. You know what I'm saying? So love you, bro. And I talk to you later. Talk to you in a month from now. And there's nothing wrong with that. So it comes down to, again, being secure with yourself. Once you're insecure, a lot of things come up that you're not comfortable with. And of course, if you're not taught, those things, you have never been around those type of things, you don't know how to handle it. And that just goes for anything, not just homophobia, but many things. So me growing up in a city like I did in New York, I was exposed to a lot of shit, a lot of good things, a lot of fucked up things. I was exposed, and I had to learn. I had to ask questions. I had to see why, and I'm like, well, okay, you're gay. All right, cool. Just give me a hug. Cool. All right, I don't care. I'm not you're gonna hit on me. And if you do, I'll let you know. Hey, pump the fucking brakes.
Yeah.
That's not my fucking style. Let's keep it moving. We're still bros.
Well,
You
it's
know what I'm
funny
saying?
because, sorry to interrupt, but
No.
many, many, many years ago, one of the first jobs I had when I moved out to Colorado, I worked at a
Me a
call
favor.
center.
Move your camera more center to
Sorry.
yeah.
I was getting
Go.
too comfy. And after work one night, we went out as a group, and one of the guys, gay, don't care. He was a Kip. His name was Kip. Great guy. And so we were talking, and I said, well, why wouldn't you hit on me, Kip? He goes, because number one, I know you're not gay. Number two, you're just not my type. I'm like, all right. I was actually hurt. What's wrong with me? Oh, but it was just, again, it was funny. I just had this conversation with my son on our way home last week. I said, I don't care if you're gay, straight, white, black, green, purple. I don't care. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. You do something stupid once, I'm going to cut you out. But like I said, I don't care. We're all human. We're all on this planet one time. Why do we have to treat each other like crap? Why can't we treat each other nice?
Lack of information,
Yeah.
lack of willing to engage, and too much giving attention to the differences. Right. So growing up in New York, you know, you have your different neighborhoods. You have your Jews over here, blacks over here, Puerto Ricans over there, Italians over there with John Gotti. You know, you you knew where not to go.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you're in a social environment, school, library, the fucking post office, the supermarket, where you have no choice but to engage with multiple people of different cultures, they're in the same aisle as you're in. You're in aisle three buying fucking sugar just like they are.
Right.
They're at the freezer buying some fucking milk. They're buying the same DiGiorno pizza that you fucking buying. You know, so it's really not that different to your point, but it's our lack of understanding and wanting to understand about how different cultures do different things. But even then, it's very regional based off of foods. Every culture has a fucked up uncle. Every culture has a drunk aunt. Every culture has that touchy feely person that kind of creepy in the family. Every culture has that one person who's just loud as shit that loves to gossip. No matter what language you want to translate, I guarantee you ask that question, you'll discover those things exist. You have the comedian in the family, the asshole of the family, unfortunately, sometimes the addict of the family, right? Those things are just people shit. And until we determine to ourselves, to like your point, people are people, not look at the surface part of everything, then we can win. People always say, don't judge a book by its cover. That's how we purchase books, by covers, not by the content that's written in it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Isn't it? So we use that saying, but we don't really oblige by it, So it's even to this day, that's where you have the Me Too movement. You have the Black Lives Matter movement. Colin Kaepernick kneeling and people saying, "Oh, you disrespect the military." Everyone in every group has an issue, or agrees with, or disagrees with, and it comes down to, hey, let's talk. I may disagree with how you're producing something, but give me an understanding of why you're going this route. Because if I have no sensitivity to it, I never experienced it, it's going to be a little difficult for me to understand it.
Right.
Right. But if I'm closed-minded, I'm definitely not going to understand it. I'm just going to spit my fucking rhetoric, and that's it, and not receive anything. And that's the problem. We all want to spit our fucking rhetoric, but we don't want to receive shit. We are very bad communicators. As much as we communicate with social media 24/7 and we consume all this content, we just don't communicate well as a species. And we continue building up these walls, these virtual walls up, to have more separation. Growing up, I didn't learn to speak Spanish. My parents didn't teach me Spanish because they wanted to make sure I was American, right? Mm-hmm. Then you go in the real world, everyone's like, well, how do you know Spanish? So I'm not American enough, then I'm not Puerto Rican enough because I don't know Spanish. So I'm in this middle ground of where the fuck do I belong? And it became very difficult to say, hey, to my own people, hey, I'm just like you. I can make all the food. I love all the music. I just can't talk to you in the native tongue. And that's me just being who I am from Brooklyn and being American, because Americans are Americans regardless.
Right.
I'm still not American enough. Right? Came to the South, I was called a Yankee. I didn't know a Yankee was a derogatory word until I came to the South. I was like, oh yeah, I love the Yankees. Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate that. And moving to the South, especially living in the Bible Belt, was a whole new experience. The first 3 years were very difficult, and I wanted to get the fuck out of Dodge. I said, these people are crazy down here. They got their guns in their hip, open carry, buying a gallon of milk from Kroger. Holy shit. And what I had to was stop comparing the both places, what this city had compared to what this city didn't have. And I had to get deeper to the core of the people who did show me some racism when I got here to Atlanta. It's not the real people of Atlanta. Right. Yes, they're there. That's not the real heart of the people of Atlanta. And when I finally discovered that and said, you know what, those are just a minority that think that way. They're not the majority. But the minority tend to have a louder mouth. That's the unfortunate part. And as we continue to grow, we're going to get better. Because people like yourself, teaching their children to be accepting and tolerant and asking questions, that's how we need to just have all our children be. And travel more, right? As I know for myself, growing up, I didn't think of traveling. My parents, the baby boomer generation, they didn't travel much either, right? This new millennial group coming up, they got more passports coming out of the post office they don't know what to do with now. Because millennials want to travel. They want to go out and explore the world.
Well, they don't want to go land in a cubicle farm. They want to be able to, in the gig economy, or Success Magazine calls it the U economy. where you can work anywhere.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, even what I would say 10, even 15, 20 years ago, you couldn't do that because you still had to have, some type of internet connection. With the technology with Wi-Fi, it's gotten way better.
Yes.
Not in the world of hotels, not just letting major chains know that, but it's it's a great goal, in my opinion. Great goal to have is to be able to work from anywhere and everywhere, and to be able to, my dream, very similar to yours, is to be able to be home and work in, my home office where we are right now, and not have to, worry about, again, going to a cubicle farm. And it's all about, creating residual income, so you're not stressed about, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay this bill? If you can build, different levels of residual income, you'll be okay. And
Yes, indeed.
yeah.
No, you definitely will. I think with you traveling so much, and constantly connected because you're trying to do your own thing with your podcast, you're still writing your book as well, right?
Yep.
You're working. What does Tommy's self-care time look like, or are you developing that for yourself?
Wait. Please leave a rating and review. However you get this podcast, whether it's through the mail or from your neighbor or listening in under the couch. I don't know. You tell me. Thank you for listening to Blending the Family, the podcast. If you come back, you get a 2-for-1 coupon. Woohoo! Daddy.